guys? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. I just got done watching at the Hooters up in Boca, where it was a packed house of Dolphins fans, me, a few of my friends, none of which were Dolphins fans, so that was not as fun. But was that ever a thrilling game? Dolphins win it 20-17. Game of two entirely different halves, and a game of margins. That Travis Etienne fumble, the difference of the game. You go in from being 3 scores down if Etienne gets into the end zone to a play, 2, 3, maybe most later. Tyreek Hill long bomb, 80-yard touchdown. You're in it. Jason Sanders shanked field goal, comes back, hits 2 clutch kicks, including the game winner at the end. Man, that was a joyride. That was a thrill ride. That was scary. That was exciting. That was fun. There was so much different emotions at play that you can take away from that game. So much happened. So much went right. So much went wrong. The offense looked completely disjointed in the first half. The entire team looked completely disjointed in the first half. I'm disjointed right now. I can barely speak after that. The first half was awful. The Jacksonville Jaguars, their scripted plays were excellent. Those first few drives, they came out and they executed their game plan extremely well. Those first few drives, putting up 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence looks so comfortable connecting with Brian Thomas Jr. back of the end zone. Christian Kirk still being hurt, so he wasn't that big of an impact on the game as he probably could have been if this game was played maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now. But the Jaguars just, at all cylinders clicking. Arik Armstead, his first game on the defensive line. I mentioned in the preview that he was certainly going to be somebody to watch out for the Jags. Trayvon Walker got a sack. The defensive line, I don't think Josh Hines-Allen even got a sack, but I don't think he did. But just his impact on the line, I knew it was going to be the defensive front of the Jaguars that gave us the biggest struggles ultimately, and that ultimately was the case. The secondary of the Jaguars really started to fall apart in the second half of the game. You started to see some of those bigger plays, especially that long bomb to Tyreek over the top for, not even kind of over the top. It was like at the top and just kind of ran around the top. Jalen Waddle was getting open. I was really concerned about him in the beginning, taking that massive shot, but he obviously came back. He was fine enough. Big concern, at the very least for me, is the rushing attack. I mean, I don't think anybody had over 25 yards. I think Jeff Wilson may have been our leading rusher on the day. I think we had 82 total rushing yards on the game. That is, you can't win long-term football like that. You can't win in January like that. And it wasn't even necessarily a game plan issue. I think we just have an issue of running the ball. Interior offensive line, holding calls from the interior of the offensive line, penalties in general, another issue. A lot of similar issues from last year. I know I'm kind of all over the place right now, but there's a lot of similar issues from last year. Penalties, I don't remember what we finished with, but I remember at one point, I think it was 9 penalties for 103 penalty yards. The timeouts, oh my gosh, the timeouts just to get plays off, still an issue, still something that we see. Obviously, it's game 1, but issues from last year that you thought would have been raked over by now aren't raked over. That's certainly a problem with the time management. It certainly scared me there at the end that you're willing to just give up, not necessarily give up, but be resigned to the fact that you're going to kick a game-winning field goal in 52 yards, 11 for 11 now. Jason Sanders is on, I think, kicks of over 50 or whatever that stat on the screen was. I forget already. I was going crazy in there. Look, it was ugly. It was scary. It was at times hideous. It was at times beautiful. There was every end of the spectrum of happiness and sadness of those emotions were felt, and just the game completely turned on its head after that Travis Etienne fumble. Javon Holland getting his hand in there made the game for the Dolphins. Immediately go down that 80-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill, change the game. It's going to be the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane show on offense. Obviously with Tua at the spear, but it's going to be an offense strictly Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. Achane mostly played wide receiver today. He had 20 yards on the ground, 25 yards on the ground, I believe it was. 7 catches, 75 yards through the air. So many screens that he's just trying to find a little bit of space. Never really saw an opportunity to bust out a big play, but just picking up yards, getting first downs. The opposite of what we saw from him last year, just being able to get those little chunk plays at a time. Those 8 to 12 yard pickups. That's what he did today. Averaged 10 yards in the air. Again, didn't quite find it on the ground. That is going to be something of a concern. Tua, didn't even mention Tua at all here. Just a very quiet, 350 piece. 80 of that, of course, being on that Tyreek Hill long touchdown. But Tua looked very solid. He looked comfortable. 3 sacks, 19 yards. No interceptions, 1 touchdown. Tua looked fine. Tua looked, for a 350-yard performance that was quiet. Very good game from Tua. Very okay with what we saw from Tua. Ran the offense the best he could. Dolphins obviously dealing with a lot right now, dealing with the injuries, dealing with lack of noteworthy depth at the skill positions. Sure. And obviously, didn't get to make a video about this earlier today, but Tyreek Hill getting arrested for the game, of all the things to never have on your bingo card, Tyreek Hill getting put in handcuffs, face down on the ground, 2 hours before game time. Never in a million years, but with Tyreek Hill, unfortunately, something like that's always possible. Tyreek Hill, not the most upstanding citizen, but we still love him. Helps us out. And, Dolphins victory. That's all we won. Move on to Buffalo. Short week here coming up against the Bills. Excited for that. Have an opportunity to go up 2-0 on the season against a team that you struggle with over the last few years. Big game on Thursday, but you get this one out of the way. You start off the season with a win. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. Let me know your thoughts on the game down below. Who impressed you? Who concerned you? Mike McDaniel, year 3, some of the same mistakes going on. Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the video. Obviously, I'm not in my normal setup here. Here, my card literally just outside of Hooters. Make a more in-depth breakdown tomorrow when we get to go back over the stats and look at some of the big plays. So let us know your thoughts on the game down below. Hit that like button. Hit that sub button. The Dolphins are 1-0 on the season. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.